Welcome, sleepy soul. I'm your storyteller tonight, here to help you drift into deep, peaceful sleep. Before we begin, don't forget to like the video and subscribe for more bedtime stories. Let me know in the comments where you're watching from and what time it is. And if there's a story you'd like to hear next, I'd love to know that too. I used to think I was good at trusting my gut. I wasn't the type of girl who walked home with earbuds in or parked in dim corners of garages. I took night safety seriously, especially because my schedule didn't give me much choice. I was a full-time criminology student and a part-time barista at a Starbucks tucked away on the corner of Maple and Delano Avenue, a quieter stretch in Brookhaven, Ohio. I lived alone in a small studio apartment 6 blocks from work. Rent was cheap because the landlord never really fixed anything and the walls were paper thin, but it worked. Every day I walked to the store in the early evenings and worked until close. The same jazz playlist looped through the speakers. The smell of roasted beans clung to my hair, and by the time I wiped down the last counter, it was usually after 11 p.m. I didn't mind it. I liked the routine, I liked the customers, and the store had a sort of warmth to it. Dim lighting, cozy armchairs, windows fogged up from the espresso machines and chilly air outside. What I didn't know, what I never could have imagined, was that someone else had memorized that routine too. It started subtly. A few weeks before everything spiraled, I noticed the bathroom light flickering weirdly. The women's restroom at our store had always been a bit neglected. The tiles were cracked, the vent made this low rattling sound, and the light above the center stall always buzzed. But that night the flicker wasn't from the bulb. It was like something small flashed underneath the stall wall, like the glint of glass catching a light. I chalked it up to being tired, maybe a dropped phone screen, maybe someone else's shoes glinting under the stall. Then came the DM. I was on my 15-minute break, sitting in the back room scrolling Instagram when I saw the message request. The profile was blank, no posts, no mutuals, just a username, _JPat34. The message simply read, "Nice pink lace. You looked so focused when you were peeing." Attached was a 30-second video. I wish I could say I hesitated before clicking it. I didn't. Curiosity won. The video opened with the inside of our Starbucks women's restroom. It was shot from beneath a toilet seat. You could see my barista apron hanging as I sat down. My underwear pulled to my knees. I slammed my phone face down on the break table. My stomach flipped. I felt cold all over, like ice water running down my spine. My breath came in short gasps. I looked again, hoping I had misunderstood, but no, it was me. The angle made it obvious. It was our store, that stall. I messaged back immediately, my hands shaking. "What the no is wrong with you?" Seconds later, he replied, "Nothing. I just think you're pretty. Be my girlfriend. 1 week, that's it, or the video goes online." My skin prickled. "You're insane. This is illegal. You're not getting away with this." He replied instantly, "Be careful what you say, Amelia Grace. I know where you live. 48 Pine Street. I know your parents live in Dayton. I know your roommate moved out 2 months ago. You're alone now." My heart dropped. I hadn't told anyone about my roommate moving out. No posts, no messages, nothing. I called the police. They were sympathetic but said it would be hard to trace a burner account. They told me to call if anything escalated. It did. That night my phone rang around midnight. Unknown number. I answered cautiously. A man chuckled. "Did you like the video, Cupcake?" I froze. "Who the hell is this?" "It's me, Josh. Or would you prefer JPAT34? I left you a little gift. Go to your porch." I was shaking as I opened my apartment door. On the doormat was a Starbucks cup with my name on it. My lipstick mark was still on the rim. "You don't see me," he whispered, "but I see you every day. So do what I say. Or I'll send the video to your dad, your cousin, everyone. I want 7 days. You pretend to be mine. We'll go out, hold hands, you smile, do everything a girlfriend would. That's not too much to ask, is it?" I whispered. "Okay." He made me meet him the next morning. I recognized him immediately, scruffy, late 40s, wearing a red turtleneck under a worn leather jacket. Throughout our date, he touched my hand, whispered disgusting compliments, and even kissed my cheek. "Don't forget, Amelia. If your parents aren't enough, I'll find Carla and Dana too. Pretty girls. Wouldn't look so pretty floating in a river." He knew my best friends' names. That night, he took me to his place. The walls were covered with photos of me, at work, walking home, through my apartment window. He chained my hands and ankles before bed. "For safety," he said. On the 5th day, my mom called, invited me home. Josh insisted he come. At dinner, my mom whispered, "Honey, what's going on? Who is this man? What happened to your arm?" I wanted to tell her everything. But Josh stood in the doorway, twirling a steak knife. I lied. After dinner, we drove home in silence. On the 7th day, he let me go. "A promise is a promise," he said, and walked away. I moved states, changed everything. 3 weeks later, I came back for a doctor's appointment and saw him, sitting by the same Starbucks window. Across from him sat another girl, young, nervous. "Give me a kiss, Cupcake," he said. When he saw me, he smiled, winked. I left without calling the police because last time it didn't help. If he's still out there, still watching, I want him to read this. I want every woman to check under the stall, to trust her gut. Because sometimes the monster doesn't hide in your closet. Sometimes he buys you coffee. I never thought I'd end up profiting from ghosts. That sounds ridiculous, I know, but hear me out. My name is Mira Duza. I'm a 27-year-old real estate agent based in Lowell Point, a small suburban town right outside Portland, Oregon. I'm not the kind of agent that sells shiny lofts or expensive condos. My specialty, if you can call it that, is the kind of property no one else touches. Houses where the previous owners never made it out. Restaurants where customers swear they hear whispers in the vents. Old motels with too many padlocked doors. You see, I make money from fear. The trick is simple. I lease out haunted or cursed properties to brave or stupid people who think ghosts are a myth. They pay a huge, non-refundable deposit. And when the strange things begin, the creaks, the shadows, the voices, they run. Every single time. The deposit stays with me. I don't need to fake much, but sometimes a little help moves things along. The newest property wasn't exactly a house. It was a renovated café on the corner of Maplewood and 6th, a 2-story brick building built in 1951, long abandoned after a tragedy. It used to be a Starbucks. Locals still called it the Brew House. It had closed 10 years ago after a barista named Alina Metz was found dead in the restroom during a night shift. Officially, the report said overdose. Unofficially, everyone whispered murder. Some said she'd been stalked by a man who came in every night and ordered the same thing. Venti black, no cream. Others said the cameras caught a shadow moving behind her after the store had closed. Whatever the truth was, Starbucks shut it down, and the building sat empty until I bought it at a foreclosure auction. The interior was surprisingly intact. Wood counters, fogged-up display glass, old espresso machines, a faded chalkboard with prices from a decade ago. The smell of old coffee still lingered. I made a few adjustments, a pair of hidden speakers in the restroom ceiling, a mirror wired to flicker at random intervals, a motion sensor that triggered a faint whisper through the vents. My goal wasn't to scare anyone to death, just enough to make them pack and leave within 2 weeks. My new tenant was a quiet man named Rayon Thomas. Late 20s, wore glasses, clean-cut but tired-looking, like someone who'd been awake too many nights. He wanted a workspace, somewhere quiet to write. Perfect. I showed him around near sunset. When we walked past the restroom, he paused, staring at the door longer than normal. "You said this place used to be a Starbucks, right?" he asked. "Yeah, closed after an accident." He nodded, eyes fixed on the sign that still read restroom, customers only. He signed the lease that evening, 3 months up front, $8,000 deposit. That night, I poured myself a glass of wine and opened my laptop. I had access to the live camera feed wired through the cafe's basement fuse box. I watched him unpack. He didn't turn on music, didn't talk to himself, didn't even check his phone. Just set up a small desk, a typewriter, and a lamp. He looked calm. Too calm. Night 1, 3:14 a.m. That was the time Alina had died, or so the report said. I waited until the clock hit that mark, then pressed the remote button to trigger the bathroom whisper loop. A faint sound came through the speaker. A woman gasping, then whispering, "Help me!" Rayan froze, turned off the lamp, and stood still. Then he said softly, "You'll need to try harder than that." No fear, no confusion, just annoyance. He went back to typing. Night 2, the mirror trick. The next night, I activated the flicker effect on the restroom mirror. A faint blood-red glow followed by Alina's face appearing briefly. Eyes white, mouth sewn shut. I even added the smell of burnt coffee grounds through the vent for realism. Rayan walked in, stared at the mirror for a full minute and whispered, "You're not her." Then he washed his hands and left. Something wasn't right. No one had ever made it past the second night before. I decided to pay him a visit. Night 3. The visit. It was 2:30 a.m. when I parked across the street. I wore black gloves, hood up. I still had a spare key. Inside, the air felt colder than it should have. Not the kind of chill from bad insulation, something heavier pressing against the lungs. I crept past the counter. The espresso machine hissed softly, even though it was unplugged. Then I saw the restroom door, wide open. The mirror inside wasn't flickering. It was glowing, a steady pulse like a heartbeat. And then she appeared. Alina, not my LED projection, not my tech. Her hair floated upward, her skin gray-blue, fingertips blackened, eyes pure white. My throat locked. Then a voice behind me said, "You should have done your research, Mira." I turned. Rayan was standing there, holding something that shimmered faintly, a rosary that glowed pale blue. "You're not just a writer," I managed. He nodded. "No. I was the third body here." "What?" 2015, came for coffee, never left. They brought me back, but not all the way I stepped back." "You mean, you died here?" "Sort of. The building let me live. For now the walls groaned. The espresso machine spat steam. The smell of burnt milk filled the air. Rayan's voice grew softer. "It feeds on liars. On people who exploit others. That's why it let you in. It wants you." I turned toward the door, but the floor beneath me rippled like liquid. Alina's figure hovered near the restroom, mouth opening impossibly wide. Her voice came out in 100 whispers at once. "Stay." My rosary snapped in my hand. Rayan's final words echoed through the distortion. "You're not the hunter here, Mira. You're the next barista." And then everything went dark. When I woke up, the cafe looked new. Bright lights, clean counters. A steaming latte sat in front of me, foam shaped like a heart. The clock on the wall read 3:14 a.m. The doorbell chimed. A young woman stepped inside, clutching a folder. "Hi," she said nervously. "I saw the listing for the creative space." I smiled automatically, my voice sounding strange in my own throat. "Of course. Come in." She didn't notice the faint burn mark on my wrist or the way the espresso machine hissed like it was breathing. As I handed her the keys, I realized something. I couldn't leave the cafe. Not now. Not ever. Because I was the tenant, and it was my turn to welcome someone in. The ghost lease. Every Starbucks has a story, some just never close. I thought working the night shift at Starbucks would be peaceful. Quiet, uneventful, maybe even boring. That was the plan. After everything that happened last spring, all I wanted was calm. No parties, no chaos, no reminders. I moved to Northweld, a small Midwestern town tucked between cornfields and two-lane highways. The kind of place where the loudest thing at night is the wind scraping over the silos. It was supposed to be my reset. A new town, a new job, and no one who knew who I really was. I rented a one-bedroom above a laundromat and started working at the 24-hour Starbucks off Route 14, the one attached to a gas station. It stayed open late for truckers on the interstate, the kind of customers who came in half asleep, ordered something hot, and left without small talk. I didn't mind. In fact, I liked the silence, the soft hum of espresso machines, the hiss of milk steamers, the faint jazz looping through the speakers. After a while, the quiet began to feel like safety. Until October 22nd. You probably know that date. You might have seen my face on the news. Young woman disappears from Starbucks parking lot. Police investigate disturbing drive-through footage. They called me Whitney Clark to protect my identity. That's not my real name. My name is Evelyn Harper. And tonight, for the first time, I'm going to tell you what actually happened. The parts the police didn't release. Because Whitney Clark didn't disappear. She was taken. And she was me. That night, my shift started like any other. 6:55 p.m., clocked in, tied my green apron over my hoodie. My co-worker Henry handed me the keys and said his wife was going into labor, so I'd be closing alone. I congratulated him, told him to go. From 7 to 11, everything was ordinary. A group of teenagers came in for frappuccinos and stayed laughing in the parking lot. A man in scrubs ordered a venti black coffee and looked like he hadn't slept in days. An older gentleman asked if we still sold apple fritters. We didn't. By 11:30, the store was empty. I locked the front doors, cleaned the counters, and sat by the drive-through headset sketching in my notebook. I liked drawing when things slowed down, mostly faces, sometimes plants. Every 15 minutes, I glanced out the window. The lot was still. At 12:08 a.m., the headset crackled. "Hi there. Welcome to Starbucks. What can I get started for you tonight?" No reply, just static. Then a low male voice said, "You have a beautiful voice." I froze. It wasn't the words themselves. It was the way he said them. Calm, deliberate, like someone describing an exhibit at a museum. I tried to sound normal. "Thanks. What can I get started for you?" He exhaled slowly. "Something warm. Something you'd drink personally." It was a strange way to phrase it. I offered a blonde roast. "Low acidity." Very smooth, then he said almost tenderly, "That's not what I meant." The speaker went dead. The monitor flickered. The vehicle rolled forward. It was an old blue Silverado. One headlight out, mud streaked across the sides, the passenger mirror dangling by a cord. No license plate. Every instinct in my body screamed, "Don't open the window." The truck idled beside the drive-thru. I could see the man's profile. Gray beard, plaid flannel, fingers tapping the steering wheel. Something metallic glinted in his lap. He leaned closer. "Could you open the window?" "I'd like to pay cash," my heart hammered. "Sorry, sir, the register's closed for maintenance. You can come back in the morning." He didn't move, just smiled. "That's all right. I can wait." I backed away from the counter and grabbed my phone. The screen buzzed. Unknown number. The text read, "You shouldn't lie to customers, Evelyn." I dropped the phone. When I looked up, the man was gone. Truck 2. The parking lot was empty, but the drive-through headset was still on. Soft breathing came through the line. "You smell like vanilla," he whispered, just like she did. I ripped the headset off. At 12:46 a.m., I called 911. The dispatcher said she'd send a patrol car. 15 minutes later, red and blue lights swept across the lot. Officer Keller, mid-30s, kind eyes, checked the lot, the cameras, everything. Nothing. The feed showed static between 12:07 and 12:50. He told me to stay inside, lock the doors, and finish my shift. He promised to circle back at closing. I wanted to go home, but part of me didn't want to leave the lights. So I stayed. At 1:27 a.m., the lights flickered. Once, twice, then went out completely. The espresso machine hissed. Somewhere behind me, something shuffled. I pulled out my phone flashlight. The beam shook in my hand as I scanned the counter. That's when I saw it. A coffee cup sitting perfectly in the pickup window. My name written in black marker. Evelyn. But I hadn't made that. The rim had lipstick on it. My shade. And underneath the name in smaller letters, you should have kept the window open. The phone rang again. Same unknown number. You were supposed to give me your number, the voice said. You forgot last spring, remember? Before you left, my mouth went dry. Last spring. The city. The restraining order. No one here knew about that. How do you know me? I whispered. A pause, then softly. Because you served me coffee every night. Because you never said goodbye. The call ended. Outside, the truck's headlights flared to life. Both of them this time. He'd fixed the broken one. I grabbed the emergency exit key and bolted toward the back door. But when I unlocked it, there was no alley. Just darkness. Thick, suffocating, endless. The sound of a car engine echoed behind me. But when I turned, the cafe had changed. The walls were wrong, the lights were old. The logo on the counter wasn't the green Starbucks siren anymore. It was a black version, the same one they discontinued years ago. The air smelled burnt, like roasted beans left too long. And then I heard it. Footsteps behind the counter. Slow, wet. You never should have left, Evelyn. A hand, pale, dripping, and pressed against the glass of the drive-through window. It wasn't the man. It was me. When the police found the cafe at 2:03 a.m., the front doors were still locked. Lights on, machines off. My phone sat on the counter beside a cup labeled Whitney. The footage recovered from the camera showed nothing, just static, except for the last 10 seconds. A reflection in the drive-through glass. A girl in a green apron smiling. Now the store is closed, boarded up. But truckers say sometimes around 12:08 a.m., the drive-through speaker crackles to life. A woman's voice says, "Welcome to Starbucks. What can I get started for you tonight?" And if you're unlucky enough to answer, she'll ask, "Would you like something warm?" The last customer. Some shifts never end. The first time I saw her, she was already sitting there. Table by the window, a grande caramel macchiato half gone, and a notebook open in front of her. I remember because she was writing with her left hand, and her handwriting was perfect. Almost too perfect. This was back in 2022 at the Starbucks on Franklin in Maine, where I'd go every morning before work. Same drink, same seat, same quiet half hour before the noise of the office started. Routine kept me sane, or at least I thought it did. For the first few weeks, she was just another regular, always there before me, always in the same spot. She looked like she could have worked there. Green apron, hair tied neatly, the calm politeness of someone who'd said, "Would you like room for cream?" 1,000 times before. But she wasn't on staff. I asked once, "Hey, does that woman by the window work here?" The barista, Jason, frowned. "Who?" "The one who sits there every morning. Brown hair, freckles, Starbucks apron." He looked over, then back at me. "I don't see anyone, man." I laughed awkwardly. "You seriously don't see her?" He shrugged. "You sure you're not still half asleep?" I turned around. The chair by the window was empty. The coffee, though, the half-finished macchiato, was still sitting there. The next morning, she was back. I didn't mention it to Jason, didn't mention it to anyone. She looked up as I walked in. Her eyes were gray, not blue-gray or green-gray, just gray, like concrete after rain. She smiled and gestured to the seat across from her. "You're late today," she said softly. "Sorry, Wait, have we met?" She tilted her head. "You don't remember?" Her voice was calm, almost soothing. "We used to talk. You'd sit there, I'd sit here. You told me about your dad, about the accident. I felt my stomach twist." "How do you know about that?" "You told me," she said. "You just don't remember." Over the next week, I stopped trying to understand. Every morning she was there, always with a caramel macchiato, always wearing the same clean green apron. She started telling me things. Small things at first. What I'd dreamt about, what shirt I'd picked the night before, who I'd texted, then deeper things. "You shouldn't feel guilty about what happened to him," she said one morning. "He looked away from the road first, not you." My blood ran cold. I hadn't told anyone that, not even my therapist. I asked her how she knew. She smiled. "Because you told me, remember? On October 14th, I came in and she wasn't there. Her chair was empty for the first time. I sat down anyway. The seat was warm. Jason came over to wipe a nearby table. "Hey man, weird question. Do you ever feel like someone's watching you here?" He looked startled. "You too?" "Wait, what do you mean, me too?" He lowered his voice. "It's the cameras. Every night shift for the past week, the playback shows someone sitting in that corner. Your corner. But when we were here, it was empty." He hesitated. "Greater than looks just like you, though. Same jacket, same cup, same everything." That night, I couldn't sleep. The dreams came back, the accident, the screech of tires, the coffee cup spilling as my dad's hands slipped from the wheel. When I woke up, my phone buzzed. Unknown number. "You shouldn't have left me there," it said. Attached was a photo. The Starbucks, the corner table, a caramel macchiato, and her, sitting there smiling, wearing my jacket. I called the store immediately. Jason answered, confused. "Man, it's 5 a.m. What's wrong?" "Is she there? The woman in the green apron?" "Nobody's here yet, dude. Just me." "Why?" "Check the window table." He sighed. I heard him walking, then silence. When he spoke again, his voice was shaking. There's a drink here, with your name on it." "Mine?" "Yeah, but it's hot. Like it was just made. I drove there myself." When I walked in, the air felt wrong. Too still, too heavy. Jason stood behind the counter, pale. He pointed toward the table. The macchiato was there, steam rising, and under it, my notebook, the same one I'd lost in the crash. My handwriting on the open page, it read, "You said you'd meet me for coffee every morning. You promised." Then written in fresh ink beneath it, "You kept your promise." They found Jason 2 nights later. He'd locked up early, gone home, and never opened his door again. Inside his apartment, on the kitchen table, was a Starbucks cup with his name on it, still warm. And next to it, a note in perfect handwriting. "We're all just regulars here." The store closed a month later. They built a new one 2 blocks down. But if you drive by the old location, sometimes you'll see a light flickering by the window and a woman in a green apron writing in a notebook. If you wave, she might smile. If you stop, she might ask if you'd like to sit for a bit. Just don't, because she'll remember you, and she'll never let you leave. The woman in the green apron. Some habits outlive us. I never wanted to work nights, but college debt doesn't care about your sleep schedule. So there I was, 3 a.m., Starbucks on Route 27 inside a converted gas station. The fluorescent lights hummed, the espresso machine steamed, and the drive-through line was empty for miles. At least that's what I thought. Around 3:12 a.m., the headset crackled. "Hi, can I get a coffee?" I blinked. No vehicle in sight. I frowned. "Hello? Sir, can you repeat that?" Static. Then the voice again. "Blonde roast, no sugar, and I'ma watch carefully." A shiver ran down my spine. I started recording on my phone, more for proof than anything else. I punched in the order. "Your total's $3.87 at the first window." Nothing. Just static. Then from outside I heard footsteps, not the crunch of tires but bare feet on gravel. I peered into the dark lot. Nothing. I called the manager. No answer. 3:14 a.m. That's when it appeared. At the edge of the drive-thru, a truck materialized out of nowhere. Blue, muddy, one headlight burned out, the mirror dangling. The driver was tall, gray-bearded, plaid shirt, holding something in his lap. I couldn't see what. "Open the window," he said, voice calm. "I want to pay cash." Something in my gut screamed, "Don't." "Sir, I'm closing soon. I can't open the window." The man didn't move, just smiled. And that's when I realized the reflection in the glass wasn't mine. It was someone else. Same green apron, same messy hair, same tired eyes, looking at me, smiling. I ran to the back room, heart pounding, breath uneven, phone buzzing, unknown number. Good. You're awake. Attached a 30-second video. I swiped. It was the inside of the Starbucks. Filmed from the bathroom stall. I was sitting at the counter, apron over hoodie, drawing in my notebook. The camera angle underneath the counter. I dropped the phone. The truck engine roared outside. A knock at the drive-through window. "Your coffee," the voice said. I didn't move. I grabbed the headset. "What do you want from me?" The voice was calm, patient, like a teacher correcting a student. "I just want to watch you work." I felt cold all over, not like a draft, something in my bones. I started recording again. The next 15 minutes were chaos, lights flickering, espresso machine hissing despite being off, a shadow moving behind the pastry display impossible to catch on camera, the faint smell of burnt coffee beans and something else, then silence. I dared a glance outside. The truck was gone. The cup I had left on the counter for the last customer, gone. The police arrived at 4:03 a.m. They checked the lot, the cameras, the perimeter. No truck, no shadow, no sign anyone had been there. All they found, my phone still recording. One coffee cup full, untouched, a small note inside. "I'll be back at 3:14 tomorrow." I quit that job 2 days later. But sometimes when I'm awake at 3:14 a.m., I swear I can hear the hum of a Starbucks espresso machine, soft footsteps on gravel, and the voice, "Watch carefully." 3 a.m. at Starbucks. Some customers don't leave, and they never order. I've worked at Starbucks long enough to know every routine, every hum of the espresso machine, every faint squeak the chairs make when someone drags them across the floor. That night, I thought I knew everything. My name is Claire Jennings. I was 24, working the graveyard shift at the Starbucks on Pine and Ninth, a quiet city corner store that stayed open 24/7 because of the nearby hospital and a handful of night shift workers. It started like any other night. 6:50 p.m. I clocked in. The lights buzzed above, the coffee grinder hummed, and the soft indie playlist floated through the speakers. I prepped the station, wiped counters, set up the pastry display. By 7 p.m., the store was empty. Perfect. Quiet. Around 11:47 p.m., I decided to do a routine check of the store cameras. Nothing unusual. The parking lot empty, the doors locked, nothing but a dark city street in view. But then I noticed something I hadn't before. A hidden feed labeled Backroom 2. I hadn't installed it. Nobody on the team mentioned it. Curiosity won. I clicked it. The footage was from last year. Time-stamped every night, every shift starting in July. And there in the back room was me. Or not exactly me. A figure identical to me, wearing the green apron, moving through the motions, wiping counters, checking pastries, grinding coffee. But the timestamp said it was months before I started working there. I froze. It wasn't a recording from another employee. The figure, it moved with my gestures, my posture, my little nervous habits. Flipping my pen while taking notes, tapping my fingers on the counter while waiting for the music to change. I leaned closer, scanning the timestamps. The recordings showed the same thing every night. 12:03 a.m. The barista in green pours a cup of coffee, then pauses. 12:08 a.m. The same barista looks toward the drive-thru, staring at nothing. 12:12 a.m. The barista glances at the restroom, tilts her head, then disappears out of frame. Disappears. Then the next frame, she's back perfectly in position, smiling faintly at the camera. I clicked forward, trying to make sense of it. Hours of footage, night after night, showing me performing the same shifts I was living in real time, months before I'd even worked there. That's when I noticed the faint shimmer in the restroom mirror. The reflection didn't match what was actually in the frame. In every clip, the barista would glance into the mirror, and the reflection moved independently. It smiled when the barista didn't. It tilted its head when she stayed still. And sometimes it wasn't alone. The first time I saw it clearly, I nearly screamed. A figure, pale and gaunt, stood behind the barista's reflection. Eyes black, hair wet, dripping water like it had emerged from the sink. It leaned closer, whispering something I couldn't hear. The barista turned, looked behind her. Nothing. The mirror reflected it anyway. I started digging deeper. The hidden feed went all the way back 3 years. 3 years of baristas performing their shifts. Every shift, the same figure, always lingering in the background, never interacting with anyone else. Only the barista. And every time the barista would look directly into the camera, smile faintly, then continue working as if nothing had happened. By 3:14 a.m., I noticed a pattern. The figure always appeared in the drive-through reflection, always at the exact same timestamp, always staring, always waiting. I tried to rationalize it. Trick of light, leftover video glitch. But then I saw my own reflection, smiling, leaning forward in the backroom mirror as I watched the feed. I spun around. Empty store, silent machines, cold air brushing the back of my neck. I called the manager immediately, explained the hidden feed, the figure, the reflections. He laughed. Hidden feed? Never heard of it. Old camera system probably malfunctioned. Don't stress, Claire. You're tired. But that night, when I clocked out, something waited in the parking lot. A Starbucks cup, white with green logo, steam rising. My name written on the side. Inside, a folded slip of paper. 3:14 a.m. always comes. The shift never ends. I didn't go back. But months later, I heard from new hires. The backroom cameras, the hidden feed, had been removed. Except sometimes, late at night, they still see her in the mirrors. A barista in green, smiling faintly, moving coffee cups, wiping counters. She doesn't talk. She doesn't leave. She just works. Some shifts, they swear they hear whispers through the speaker. Welcome back. And if you glance at the restroom mirror just for a second, you'll see her, smiling. The shift that never ended. Some Starbucks baristas never leave the store, and some shifts never end. I learned early in my career at Starbucks that night shifts change you. Not in obvious ways, not the sleepless eyes or the repetitive muscle aches, but in the way the shadows start to move when no one is there, and the way the hum of the espresso machine begins to sound like voices. I didn't believe in ghosts, not really, but that all changed the night he came in. It was a Thursday near the end of my 11 p.m. to 7 a.m. shift. The store was empty except for me and the cleaning crew in the back, finishing up their rounds. The usual hum of the grinders and the faint jazz over the speakers filled the air. Around 2:47 a.m., the drive-through headset crackled. "Hi, could I get a coffee?" I perked up, odd because no car was visible on the lot. "Sure, what can I get for you?" I replied. The voice was soft, almost melodic. "A latte, large, extra foam, and I'll wait for you," I frowned. "I'm sorry, sir, but I can't take orders unless you're at the window." "That's fine. I'll wait." I checked the cameras. No car. Empty lot. I laughed nervously. Probably one of the regular truckers having fun. But then I noticed him, in the reflection of the drive-through glass. A man, thin gray jacket, glasses reflecting the fluorescent lights, standing just beyond the edge of the lot. He didn't move his lips. He didn't hold a cup. He just stared. Curiosity won over caution. I stepped outside to check. Empty lot. No footprints, no car. I came back in. Must have been my imagination, I muttered. Over the next week, he kept coming. Always at 2:47 a.m., always in the same spot, always ordering the same drink. But no one else could see him. Not the morning baristas, not the manager checking the overnight footage. And the footage? He never appeared. He didn't exist on camera. Then the subtle things started. The foam in the latte I poured was shaped like a perfect smile every time, even though I didn't touch it. My name appeared on the cup in perfect handwriting. Letters I didn't write. The music over the speakers sometimes slowed just slightly when he arrived. I began to feel like he was watching me from inside the store, not outside. One night I stayed late, determined to catch him. 3:14 a.m. The lot was empty. The air smelled faintly of burnt sugar. I leaned against the counter, waiting. And then I saw it, a shadow in the corner of the café. Tall, thin, standing just beyond the espresso machine. I blinked. No one. I shook my head. Get a grip, Claire. You're exhausted. Then I turned toward the window. There he was. Not outside this time. Inside, eyes fixed on me, glasses fogged, smile faint, almost imperceptible. I stumbled backward. Sir, you can't be here. He raised a hand, pointing at the counter. You make it for me. I froze. I wasn't moving, and then my hands lifted on their own, steaming latte appearing in my palm. The cup had my name on it. Perfect, he whispered. The shadows in the store thickened. The music slowed. The espresso machine hissed like it was breathing. Then he vanished. I quit that night, left the apron on the counter, didn't look back. Months later, the store manager called me. Claire, something weird's happening. Cups appearing with names written in handwriting none of our staff can imitate. The cameras show nothing. And sometimes, the night barista swears someone's standing in the corner, but when they turn, there's nobody. I didn't tell him what I knew, because I had learned something. He wasn't a customer, he wasn't real, he was part of the store. A memory, a shadow, something that lingered behind the machines, watching, waiting for the next barista. Some nights the drive-thru crackles and a soft voice asks, could I get a coffee? And if you stay too long, too curious, you'll see him, smiling, the customer who wasn't there. Some customers never leave, and they don't need to order. I always thought the night shift at Starbucks was quiet for a reason. Few customers, little chaos, plenty of time to organize, clean, think. But some nights, quiet isn't safety. Quiet is a warning. I'm Sophie Lane, 26, barista at the Starbucks on Monroe Street, a small urban location tucked between a laundromat and a 24-hour diner. My shift ran 11 p.m. to 7 a.m., mostly empty tables, flickering fluorescent lights, and the low hum of machines. It started like any other Thursday night. 11:02 p.m. First order, a lonely coffee delivery for the gas station attendant next door. Nothing unusual. 11:30 p.m. The store is empty. I start organizing the pastry display, wiping counters, refilling syrups. 12:15 a.m. The first odd thing. I glanced at the drive-thru monitor. A figure standing at the edge of the lot. Gray hoodie, hands in pockets. No car, no headlights, just watching. I blinked. Gone. 12:47 a.m. The headset crackled. Can I get a venti latte? I laughed nervously. Sure. Drive-through window, please, static. I'll come inside, the voice said softly. I froze. It was too calm, too deliberate. Not a customer, not someone in a hurry. I told myself it was the radio, a nearby station bleeding through the headset. But then the door chimed. No one there. Over the next hour, things escalated. My pens moved on their own across the counter. My apron felt heavier, as if someone invisible had tugged on it. I caught glimpses of movement in the reflection of the glass. People walking past the tables, but no footsteps, no sounds. At 1:14 a.m., I saw him clearly. Tall, lean, hoodie shadowing his face, standing behind the counter, watching me pour a latte. I spun around. Empty store. The headset buzzed again. You make it for me. I froze. My hands. My mind. Nothing. Then, the espresso machine hissed louder than usual, steam curling unnaturally toward the ceiling. The lights flickered. All the pastries shook slightly on the tray. You always work alone? The voice whispered. I realized something terrifying. I hadn't seen anyone else in hours, not a customer, not a colleague, not even a janitor. But I wasn't alone. I tried calling the manager, no answer. The phone line buzzed static. I grabbed my phone flashlight. It cast shadows that didn't belong to the objects in the store. The figure was closer now, leaning on the counter, watching, Waiting. "You're awake," he said softly. "Finally." Panic. I backed toward the door. It wouldn't open. The chime above the door rang on its own. The reflection in the glass, my own, didn't move. It just smiled. "You can't leave." "Not yet," it whispered. Then the lights went out. I was plunged into complete darkness, only the faint red standby lights of the espresso machine glowing. The whispering continued, soft, almost playful. "Every night, the same. You clean, you pour, you wait. And I watch." I ran toward the back, toward the emergency exit. The handle moved under my hand like something was guiding it. When I pushed, it swung open. And the lot was empty. No car, no figure, no footprints. I stepped outside. The city was quiet, too quiet. Then I glanced back. The door's glass reflected me, apron stained with coffee, hands shaking, and him, standing right behind me in the reflection. But when I turned, nothing. I quit the next day. But sometimes when I can't sleep, I hear the faint hiss of a milk steamer, the soft ding of a bell above a door, and I swear just for a second I see a shadow standing behind my reflection waiting, even though I'm no longer there. Midnight orders. Some shifts never end. Some customers never leave.